this is just a test in the beginning because we were having mic problems yesterday. So here I am with my friend Paddington there. Alright, good to go. I can give him the go ahead. So it's Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 31. The chapter is the cause of all causes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alright, text 31. I'll hold the book up so Paddy can see it as well. By further transformation of the mode of passion, the sense organs like the ear, skin, nose, eyes, tongue, mouth, hands, genitals, legs, and outlets for evacuating, together with intellectual and together with intelligence and the life energy, are all generated. Hold on. Let's turn the page to the purport. The living condition in material existence depends more or less on one's intelligence and powerful life energy. Intelligence to counteract the hard struggle for existence is assisted by the senses for acquiring knowledge, and the life energy is maintained by the manipulation of the active organs like the hands and legs. But on the whole, the struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. Therefore, all the sense organs, along with the intelligence and the life energy, prana, are different products and byproducts of the second mode of nature called passion. This mode of passion, however, is a product of the air element, as described above.
So it's very interesting that passion is a product of the air element. Intriguing. And intelligence and prana are generated from passion. And that's explained. So these are interesting things. I was talking with a devotee yesterday, and nicely enough, interesting, he was appreciating our readings, and he himself is now reading the second canto of the Bhagavatam, and he was explaining how it's a difficult canto because it's all about creation and the universal form, and he's speaking how he's very attracted to, Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, but not so much this. And anyway, we had a really nice chat about how important it is and how Jiva Goswami explains, and we described it earlier, that it's important to be able to appreciate Krishna even in this magnificent way of how he's put the creation together, and also the sages' knowledge and wisdom of that, even though probably on first reading it doesn't make much sense to us. But if we took time and actually studied it and look at it, probably a lot more sense would be made, and of course many devotees have done that. What do you think, Patty? He's busy. So, we'll carry on reading. Text 32. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled. Okay, so the body can't be created until the elements have been created, because the body, the material physical body, is made up of all of these elements. So, purport. The different types of bodily construction of the living entities are exactly like different types of motor cars manufactured by assembling the allied motor parts. When the car is ready, the driver sits in the car and moves it as he desires. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 18:61. Anyone remembers that? The verse is Yantra Rudani Mayaya, that we're seated on a machine made of the material energy. The living entity as if seated on the machine of the body, and the car of the body is moving by the control of material nature, just as the railway trains are moving under the direction of the controller. The living entities, however, are not the bodies. They are separate from the cars of the body. But the less intelligent material scientists cannot understand the process of assembling the parts of the body, namely the senses, the mind, and the qualities of the material modes. Every living entity is a spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Being. And by the kindness of the Lord, for the Father is kind to his sons, the individual living beings are given a little freedom to act according to their will, to lord it over the material nature. Just as a father gives some playthings to the crying child to satisfy him, the whole material creation is made possible by the will of the Lord to allow the bewildered living entities to lord it over things as they desire, although under the control of the agency or the agent of the Lord. The living entities are exactly like small children playing the material field under the control of the maidservant of the Lord, nature. They accept the Maya or the maidservant as all in all, and thus wrongly conceive the supreme truth to be feminine, goddess Durga, etc. The foolish childlike materialist cannot reach beyond the conception of the maidservant material nature, but the intelligent grown-up sons of the Lord know well that all the acts of the material nature are controlled by the Lord, just as a maidservant is under the control of the master, the father of the undeveloped children. So that was quite a powerful paragraph there in this really brilliant analogy of the jivas as children with playthings given by Maya, the maidservant of the master, or the father of the children, and how nature is often compared to be feminine, and that's understood in the Vedic culture. You know, we often refer to in the West as Mother Nature, and Vedic culture it's understood to be a Durga or Mataji. So like that, it's very interesting that the feminine energy is understood, the material feminine energy is understood to be feminine like that. Any thoughts?
No.
No. Okay. He's busy eating. We shouldn't disturb him. But...
No. The parts of the body, such as the senses, are the creation of the Mahatattva. And when they are assembled by the will of the Lord, the material body comes into existence. And the living entity is allowed to use it for further activities. This is explained as follows.
Text 33. Thus, when all these became assembled by the force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation. I'm going to read that again. Thus, when all these became assembled, so all these elements, by the force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by Krishna, this universe certainly came into being. Then the universe came into existence. By accepting both the primary and the secondary causes of creation. So the primary cause is Krishna, secondary cause is Lord Brahma. Okay, let's see what the purport has to say. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts his different energies in the creation. It is not that he himself is transformed into material creation. He expands himself by his different energies as well as by his plenary portions. In a corner of the spiritual sky of Brahmajyoti, a spiritual cloud sometimes appears, and the covered portion is called the Mahatattva. The Lord then, by his plenary portion as Mahavishnu, lies down within the water of the Mahatattva, and the water is called the causal ocean, Karanjal. While Mahavishnu sleeps within the causal ocean, innumerable universes are generated along with his breathing. These universes are floating, and they are scattered all over the causal ocean. They stay only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu. In each and every universal globe, the same Mahavishnu enters again as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and lies there on the serpent-like Sesha incarnation. From his navel sprouts a lotus stem, and on the lotus Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Brahma creates all forms of living beings of different shapes in terms of different desires within the universe. He also creates the sun, moon, and other demigods. So this is a brilliant explanation of the creation. We discussed this the other morning. I was giving Chaitanya Charitamrita class, and we went through the different incarnations of the Lord and discussed this. But very nice explanation here for everyone to fathom, whether they can grasp it when people first read it, or whether you can grasp it, or I can grasp it, or he can grasp it. But still, that's the Vedic explanation of creation.
Therefore, the chief engineer of the material creation is the Lord himself, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10. It is he only who directs the material nature to produce all sorts of moving and non-moving creations.
There are two modes of material creation: the creation of the collective universes, as stated above, done by the Mahavishnu, and the creation of the single universe. Both are done by the Lord, and thus the universal shape, as we can see, takes place. So that's an interesting primary and secondary creation. The entire creation is manifested by the Lord, but then the secondary creation also through the potency of the Lord. Although Lord Brahma is considered the engineer or secondary creator. I think the cat's got her tongue today. I don't know.
It's the weather.
It's the weather. It is cold out here, by the way.
It's very cold.
You can't see that we're bundled up, which we normally are, but it is. It's chilly.
Cold. Alright, text 34. Thus all the universes remain thousands of eons within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering into each of them caused them to become fully animated. Purport. The Lord is described here as the Jiva because he is the leader of all other Jivas, living entities. In the Vedas, he is described as the Nitya, the leader of all other Nityas. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of the father with the sons. The sons and the father are qualitatively equal, but the father is never the son, nor is the son ever the father who begets. So as described above, the Lord as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu or Hiranyagarbha Supersoul enters into each and every universe and causes it to become animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14:3. After each annihilation of material creation, all the living entities are merged within the body of the Lord, and after creation they are again impregnated within the material energy. In material existence, therefore, that material energy is seemingly the mother of the living entities, and the father, and the Lord is the father. When, however, the animation takes place, the living entities revive their own natural activities under the spell of time and energy, and thus the varieties of living beings are manifested. The Lord, therefore, is ultimately the cause of all animation in the material world.
So interesting how Krishna is described as Jivaha, which means that he is the Lord of the Jivas, and how all the Jivas enter into him at the time of dissolution, and then they are impregnated back into the material energy again at the time of creation. So the Lord is also known as Jiva, but he is the Lord of all the Jivas. Not that he is a Jiva. And the nice analogy about the Father and the Son is given there, that the Father and Son are kind of considered one, but they're not exactly the same. The Father never is the Son, and the Son never the Father, or like that. But the Son lives on through the Father, kind of thing. And also it has its connections with the whole Christian ideology of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So those kind of things are there and prominent in all the world's religions. 35?
Yeah.
Is it mine?
Yeah.
Okay. Text 35. The Lord, Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it and divided himself as Hiranyagarbha. He entered into each universe and assumed the Virat Rupa, with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, heads, etc. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The expansions of the planetary systems within each and every universe are situated in the different parts of the Virat Rupa, universal form of the Lord, and they are described as follows.
Text 36. Great philosophers imagine that the complete planetary systems in the universe are displays of the different upper and lower limbs of the universal body of the Lord. Purport. The word kalpayanti, or imagine, is significant. The Virat universal form of the Absolute is an imagination of the speculative philosophers who are unable to adjust to the eternal two-handed form of Lord Sri Krishna. Although the universal form, as imagined by the great philosophers, is one of the features of the Lord, it is more or less imaginary. It is said that even the 7 upper planetary systems are situated above the waist of the universal form, whereas the lower planetary systems are situated below his waist. The idea impressed herein is that the Supreme Lord is conscious of every part of his body, and nowhere in the creation is there anything beyond his control.
Wow, so this is a nice explanation of the universal form, which we hear about very often, and the fact that it is more or less imaginary, even though it's described in the verse that the Lord manifests as a universal form, but that form is not an actual real form. It's a described form that is used to help the impersonalists cultivate and manifest consciousness of the Lord having an actual form. But more or less the Virat Rupa is imaginary. I like that. What do you think, Paddington? He's keeping quiet today. Let's see. The next one's got quite a long purport. Should we carry on, read that one, and then finish, or finish now?
We can read that.
Okay.
It's cold, that's why we're deliberating.
Okay, so text 37. The Brahmanas represent his mouth, the Kshatriyas his arms, the Vaishyas his thighs, and the Shudras are born of his legs. Interesting, I always heard Vaishyas were the abdomen or the belly. Let's see. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. All living beings are stated to be parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and how they are so is explained in this verse. The 4 divisions of human society, namely the intelligent class, the Brahmanas, the administrative class, the Kshatriyas, the mercantile class, the Vaishyas, and the laborer class, the Shudras, are all in different parts of the body of the Lord. As such, no one is different from the Lord. The mouth of the body and the legs of the body are non-different constitutionally, but the mouth or the head of the body is qualitatively more important than the legs. At the same time, the mouth, the legs, the arms, and the thighs are all component parts of the body. These limbs of the body of the Lord are meant to serve the complete whole. The mouth is meant for speaking and eating. The arms are meant for the protection of the body. The legs are meant for carrying the body. And the waist of the body is meant for maintaining the body. The intelligent class in society therefore must speak on behalf of the body, as well as accept foodstuff to satisfy the hunger of the body. The hunger of the Lord is to accept the fruits of sacrifice. The Brahmanas, or the intelligent class, must be very expert in performing such sacrifices, and the subordinate classes must join in such sacrifices. To speak for the Supreme Lord means to glorify the Lord by means of propagating the knowledge of the Lord as it is, broadcasting the factual nature of the Lord and the factual position of all other parts of the whole body. You want to read? The Brahmanas do.
Do you say to satisfy the hunger of the whole body?
Yeah.
The hunger of the Lord is to
No.
accept.
The Brahmanas therefore required.
Oh, the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas therefore are required to know the Vedas, or the ultimate source of knowledge. Veda means knowledge and Anta means the end of it. According to the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is the source of everything. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. And thus the end of all knowledge, Vedanta, is to know the Lord, to know our relationship with Him, and to act according to that relationship only. The parts of the body are related to the body. Similarly, the living being must know his relationship with the Lord. The human life is especially meant for this purpose, namely to know the factual relationship of every living being with the Supreme Lord. Without knowing this relationship, the human life is spoiled. The intelligent class of men, the Brahmanas, are therefore especially responsible for broadcasting this knowledge of our relationship with the Lord and leading the general mass of people to the right path. The administrative class is meant for protecting the living beings so that they can serve this purpose. The mercantile class is meant for producing food grains and distributing them to the complete human society, so that the whole population is given a chance to live comfortably and discharge the duties of human life. The mercantile class is also required to give protection to the cows in order to give sufficient milk and milk products, which alone can give the proper health and intelligence to maintain a civilization perfectly meant for knowledge of the ultimate truth. And the laborer class, who are neither intelligent nor powerful, can help by physical services to the other higher classes and thus be benefited by their cooperation. Therefore, the universe is a complete unit in relationship with the Lord, and without this relationship with the Lord, the whole human society is disturbed and is without any peace and prosperity. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Ramanyo Yasya Mukha Asid Bahu Rajanya Krita.
Interesting. Nice explanation of the... Sorry, any comments on that?
Not really. I think it's clear and succinct.
Anyway, it's a nice explanation of the four Varnas and their relationship with the Virat Rupa, as well as function in society. So very nicely lays things out. So it's important for us to understand where we fit into that. What is our nature? Not that it's good, bad, right or wrong, but we all have a nature, and that's our nature. At the same time, we have to understand that others have their nature, and it may mean that they differ in opinion from us, differ in the way that they conduct themselves from us, because they have a different nature and a different natural function or way that they do things. So the more that we can become less judgmental, and the more that we can understand how the different parts need to work together, like the body, if the hand decides that no, I want to eat on my own and I'm sick of feeding the mouth and the belly, then the hand will starve and die, because actually the hand has to work to feed the mouth and the belly. So otherwise everything departs. So if one part of the whole becomes isolated off from the other parts and thinks themselves just right or the best or the only or the correct, then the whole thing breaks down. So it's important to keep unity. And as Prabhupada stressed, unity in diversity. Hare Krishna.
But this unity in diversity works when, as it's pointed out, there's different classes and of men and women, and when we are not properly situated or not accepting, and maybe we are, say, the worker class or Shudra, and we think, but I want to be a Brahmana, that's a disturbance to society,
Yeah,
for example.
nice point.
So we have to be humble and honest and understand where we're at, maybe take guidance, because otherwise there's no unity. There's just diverse.
Disunity.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to go now because our hands are frozen
Yeah,
solid.
I'm gonna get
And,
some gloves.
we need to get some walk, go for a walk and warm up the body. Thank you very much. Please remember we have the Srimad Bhagavatam here with beautiful picture of Radha Ishwar on the front, special edition, and that's what we're reading from at the moment, the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We see Paddington he's propagating this.
He just sponsored one actually.
Yeah, it's marathon time, so if you'd like to sponsor some or receive a copy, just let us know, send us a message below, and we'll happily sort you out, Mike. Thanks very much.
Haribol.
Haribol.